This is now the third game between Asso and iBaWs, and true to how this game has gone so far, each are again with a different faction. I think, do you know what? I'm really happy that these two players, if they're going to play random throughout the tournament, got up against each other to do this, because it's really fun to be able to see the sort of comparison between all of the other players we've seen so far, who sort of picked their strongest race and just went with that, and players like this who are sort of showing a different side of the tournament. You know, I would really like to see, perhaps in the future, forced random tournaments. To do something like that in a way that sort of produced the best players consistently, you might need to have bigger matchups. You might need to, you know, do more than a best of 5. You might need to go to best of 7 or even higher, honestly, to get like a really good view of players' overall skills, so they can't just get too lucky on faction choices. But I really think this is an interesting. It's a different thing to see, you know, players' skill at the whole game rather than players' sort of perfection of whole races. Maybe that's an idea for something fun Netput could do another time. Although I hope that for the sort of main ladder tournaments, he keeps it as, you know, mainly people are just playing their main races, because then we get to see the real performance here. And this, you see, this is what I like. Just real aggressive play. This has actually been super aggressive. I only just realised how aggressive this has been. 2 of these factory things straight into this without even getting a resource enhancer yet, and it's just stink bugs. And in these early fights, stink bugs are incredibly good. Especially, I mean, rocket cars do deal with them very well, but he's only just starting to get rocket cars out. And stink bugs will destroy everything from that barracks. And I actually think going for that barracks was a mistake, because, like, honestly, stink bugs don't give a toss about anything from that barracks. So I think getting the production of rocket cards down first is much more important. But this just shows the incredible early game strength that Cranios can have. Now, obviously, I don't do this sort of thing much, but I think early, in small numbers, early stink bug attacks like these are absolutely brilliant, because he has to spend so much of his effort microing against these to keep them out of the AoE. They do so much damage to buildings. How quickly this building's health goes down is ridiculous, just from 4 of them and a couple of Xenodogs. And they're so just like, when you get into they're very different to micro, but when you get into microing them, they become so effortless. And look at this, just Asso has just not been able to make anything. This is such an early, powerful, abusive rush. So this game's over. I'm going to have a quick look back to sort of maybe what caused this loss. We have a few units starting out here from Asso, but maybe he could have made a few more, you know. We see this coming out early. But we just see this incredibly aggressive build, and yeah, he loses a few grenadiers over here, which doesn't help, but it can't always be avoided. And yeah, I don't even know if he did anything that wrong here, you know. He just didn't have everything out. These Xenodogs actually cause hell with the grenadiers. Actually, I think that is his biggest mistake, is making grenadiers. I think in small situations like this, where units can be microed so much, although these grenadiers are not getting microed that much, you need engineers for their guaranteed damage. Because, I mean, look, these grenades, when they're hitting multiple things, are great, but, like, you can see how these Xenodogs just did not die. And when we skip later on, he just keeps trying to desperately make stuff, and more stink bugs just sit in his face. He's now gone 2 resource extractors, which is entirely unusual, and teched into making tripods, which again is entirely unusual, and I would actually go to say bad. In a game we are winning as much as this, I think the best choice would have been to have these 2 down, then to do these 2, and then to make a habitat and an air. This is something I actually want to talk off, which I think is bad about iBaWs' play here, or is unoptimized at least. He's going for this third factory here. You've already gone with this aggressive 2-factory build, which I'm not sure I even agree with. But making this third factory will mean that you're now producing the stick bugs at double as speed. But if you had, like... So when you add an extra factory, it doesn't actually times the production by 2, like it says over the top, which we can't actually see for some reason. I guess that's when we're observing. It increases it by, I believe, about half. So I feel like it's like mathematically better to have the separate buildings each producing on cycles. Essentially, with these 3 buildings, he's getting 2 cycles of stink bugs. Whereas if he had this and this, like, and a habitat, I don't know, habitat, is it habitat? I don't know. Whichever one you can get the Xenodogs from, he could be having a cycle of Xenodogs and a cycle and a half stink bugs. If he just had this and a habitat and then the air pad, whatever it's called, for the Cranioids, he could be having 3 cycles of stuff coming out. And if he'd gone this and then a habitat, having the Xenodogs against Grenadiers is incredible. These also don't do much against Xenodogs. So it's not like they're a bad unit to have here. It would give him more production overall as a whole. And if he had the air to come in later, when he's already got a tiny army, because your main army is harassing him so much, sending just a couple of aggressors around the back is going to be devastating. So this is just, I think, a good look at how incredibly aggressive Cranioids can be. And a very interesting build here from iBaWs.